The medical device industry has sort of divided itself up into categories, and these are areas of expertise. And the most basic division that I've seen in the device industry is that you're either building stuff to help people, therapeutic devices, or you're building up stuff to find out what's wrong. Diagnostic devices typically are going to be used by physicians or lab technicians to try and figure out what's wrong. More like scientists trying to get to the bottom, or investigators trying to get to the bottom or the root cause or the answer for people. Then they can go use any number of things to treat people with. Once you go into the therapeutic branch, so to speak, you're divvied up into Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 devices. Class 1 devices are more like tools, scalpels, scissors. Class 2 devices are invasive tools, some implantables, but they're typically not meant to sustain life in and of themselves. Obviously, Class 3 devices might be a heart valve, pacemaker, maybe a vena cava filter. Class 3s tend to be life-sustaining. Class 2s tend to be life-enhancing. And then Class 1s are more tools and hardware. Minnesota is number 2 in total number of people who are employed in the medical device industry. California is number 1, but as of 2007 or 8, Minnesota was number 2. If you look at the number of medical device employees per capita, in other words, you take the total number of medical device employees in a state and you divide it by the total population of that state, now Minnesota is easily number 1. We have far more of a higher percentage of people working in the medical device industry. People in the device business in the 90s and early 2000s got on the bandwagon and started shipping their medical device assembly processes overseas because of cheap labor. Well, cheap labor turns out to be unreliable labor, and cheap labor turns out to be pretty low quality labor. Now, it may not make a difference if you're building a Hot Wheels set for Christmas and you need to shave 16 cents off of it to capture the market, but when you're building a $20,000 pacemaker or a $6,000 heart valve, quality becomes kind of important. There might not be enough quality oversight to have caught quality flaws. And in fact, that's become the case. The quality of medical devices has been proven to go down when they send their assembly processes and the manufacture of these devices overseas. We're finding that a lot of the offshoring is becoming reshoring, and people are bringing it back. There's a fabulous workforce here in Minnesota. They know their business. They can be very productive. It's more expensive than going to some places overseas, but you know what you get. We're still kind of on the front side of the baby boom generation, which means that people who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, who are the bulk of the baby boomers, are demanding health care. When their grandparents got old, they sat out on the front porch in the rocking chair and they talked about their bunions. They did an organ recital. The baby boomer generation, the people who are now in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, they want to play tennis. They want to bike. They want to hike the Continental Divide or the Appalachian Trail. They still have the energy that they wanted to. Only the problem is they got the same old worn out bodies as their grandparents had at that age. They want to replace body parts that are failing with body parts that are working. And they say, if we can put a man on the moon, we should be able to do this. As a result, there are companies that have created artificial hearts. There are companies that are working on bioartificial livers. Because of the demand, somebody is going to respond and produce devices and generate devices that will address some of those issues, because there's a market for them. And in order for them to produce those products, they're going to need you folks. They're going to need technicians. They're going to need assemblers. They're going to need auditors and trainers and clinical research professionals and regulatory affairs associates and marketing specialists and product liability specialists and all the kinds of tasks that have to that come along with being part of the medical device industry.